right before the match starts. I'm not sure if we do it per map, but as it stands, FURIA are 1-0 up. They've already won one on Oregon and now are heading into Bank.
I love a sledge ban here. This gets targeted against Kavana a lot in EUL as well, where Benjamaster will normally pick up the sledge and play it on this map. You started seeing more and more bans of it coming in, and here it makes total sense, knowing again that Renshiro will play the sledge, that we've seen BDS stepping across on that sledge as well, that Lems can play it. You know, there's 3 sledge players on this team. Taking it away is never going to be a bad thing, especially with all the vertical work that you can do from the top floor. Finka also coming out as well, so no Thatcher ban once more. The Kaid going to get taken away regardless. Teams just not wanting to deal with that. And Mira going to be our final ban. This does mean, Tim, that Hibana is open. She is a very, very common pick on this map, especially when attacking downstairs, because there are, what, 4 hatches to get opened up? That's exactly when you want the Queen of Hatches, who can use 4 pellets per burst. She has 18 in total. And if you can do a bit of quick maths, that means 4 of those potential bursts onto hatches can come in, and you can get them open very, very easily. And that explains why Lems is going straight across onto that pick.
So round 1 is going to see us down in the basement. Lockers and CCTV will be the first defensive site for FURIA. Changing things up a little bit, Des. Obviously, we spoke on Oregon how BIOS had been taking the Thermite and Brede had rotated around and they changed things up. This time, as you said, you know, we're going to have BIOS moving away from that and just mixing things up a little bit. And maybe BDS just feel that they can find a little bit more oomph, a few more rounds with Brede back in his favoured role.
I do find it interesting because I thought Lems would have been the one playing like the 0 here, playing the flex role as he often has done, you know. He took that role away from Renshiro, so Renshiro became the go-to Zofia player, and you had Lems generally being on soft breach, so playing things like the Buck and the Sledge. And we asked him why that was, and he said ultimately it's so that he's more in the thick of things and can IGL in the moment, which is interesting because TSM have just moved their IGL out of that role because they were saying it's too hectic, you've got too much to do, you can't properly call. So while one team goes out of that mentality, another one steps into it. But I really thought we might see BIOS going in towards playing a more supportive role on, say, the Hibana, and you'd see a Lems at the very least potentially going on to either the Buck or the 0 role with Renshiro then filling the gap, but this is the call they've made.
So 5, we come in, action phase begins. And BDS, they are on the attack. Renshiro heading straight onto the windows to look at getting up onto that top floor clearance. Going to work across and work their way down. It's going to be, as we say, attacking into the basement. It's going to be that Lockers site. We need to try and find any roamers that are out there. I'm just having a look around. We've got Fantasy, I think, up on the top floor at the moment for FURIA. Other than that, they are sort of further down into the map. Fantasy not wanting to really commit too much to that either. There's a potential challenge coming into him from towards Janitors there, but he's going to step back away from it and look more towards main lobby and just try and maybe find himself an encounter with BIOS here.
Knowing when to retreat from a roam, I think, is arguably the most underrated skill in the game. Like, look at the last map with how often Lems are getting caught up by being too far. And it's not that he doesn't know, just in that case he was overstaying his welcome, whereas Fantasy there has dipped away at a good time. He's took a few shots and walked straight into the sightline coming out of BIOS, who lands a critical shot. Again, a coach subbing in, bringing down the top fragger on the other team. That's a very big thank you you'll be giving to him later.
Well, this is it. You know, we said that he'd had a couple of impactful kills in the last map on Oregon, and this time the impact continues as he's now starting to go in there and get entry kills as well. He's really having a big moment here for BDS, and it's exactly what they need now. Miracle stepping up the blue stairs, trying to get aggressive on towards that deployable shield. Renshiro just going to hold the angle up at the top there. BDS will need to deal with these blue stairs at some point potentially, as we would expect them still to be pushing towards server as BIOS steps up onto that side of the map as well. Lems is still working on the hatches, but with 2 minutes gone, BDS have made reasonable progress on the mid floor here and will look to potentially soon start thinking about that execute.
Absolutely. Plenty of time still to work with. I remember the BDS in the old days on maps like Clubhouse would be left with like 70 seconds to execute with it. It would be like, where on earth have they found all this time? But it was because they were so good at getting control of the areas, the map they needed to then start thinking about the execute. Bank's a bit of a different beast. It's much bigger. There are plenty more hidey holes for roamers to sit in. There are more stairways to work with, for example. 3 of them to be precise. Here we are and trying to get a lovely little alley-oop down through the hatch out and towards Garage, but can't quite find the player who dips away. Here comes Highs up on the flank. Can they get the shutdown? He finds 2. That's one way to shut it down. A big flank coming out from Highs, and this could be lights out for BDS as Lender also finds another. The attack has been shut down before it can even begin.
Breeder just searching to try and find something to steady the ship here, but as you say, the attack has been nullified at this point. He's going to take a drop. He's going to go straight in to the gun of Lender. With seconds left to go, it was the only option, and that's going to be FURIA closing out their first defense.
Just a big hit on the flanks there as well. Like, they gave everything to BDS, said, look, you want to get map control? It's all yours. You want to start thinking about the execute? It's all yours. You want these hatches? Not a problem. Then with about 20 to 25 seconds on the clock, they make their move. Lender in one place, Highs in another. There is no flank watch coming through at the time, and it's an easy closeout, as you're seeing in here. Just, again, really good. And all that knowing that you have a 0 on side. Only 2 cameras got deployed rather than all 4. They have the drones out on the field. That really is a bit of a critical error coming in from BDS, to be honest with you, that they should have dealt with a long time back.
Going to be heading up to the top floor this time around, FURIA. From the bottom to the top, after picking up that first defensive round, it's going to be CEO Office. Now then, we can see they brought the Echo along with them. Always a fascinating operator to keep an eye on. Fantasy is going to be playing him, but that might just take Fantasy out of the round a little bit in some ways. He didn't get any kills in the first one, but it is an operator that we're looking to get into those gunfights potentially. So playing on the Echo, it just pulls him back a little bit. It doesn't allow him to be aggressive in the same way.
Yeah, you got Lender and Highs playing that role, right? And we saw them on the flank in the prior round doing exactly that. So here he's more supportive. Me and you have spoken a number of times about how yokai drones are being used more aggressively now. You poke them up through drone holes for a quick second to see what's going on. You hop them up through hatches on maps like Clubhouse. You basically use it to drone in your roamers and help them get kills. It can be really, really impactful. So we'll keep a close eye on that and see if Highs is playing off the back of Fantasy's yokai drones, or if it's completely wrong and they're just going to use them on site.
So we get into the action phase. The top 4 clearance not going fantastically well last time around.
He's got both yokais still in back pocket and he's trying to peek onto the door.
Well, I said coming in, didn't I? You know, you've got Fantasy on the Echo, maybe not the best sort of player to be putting on there because he is that naturally sort of aggressive player. He's going to look to take gunfights and he's, as you say, peeking the double door on Square Skylight to begin the round. He's going to deploy those gadgets at least. If nothing else, Fantasy, get them out of your pocket, get them into the map.
He's got one out there that is tucked inside the B site, just in that northwest corner. The other one's still there, mind you. Would ideally prefer it out to feed a bit of information to the rest of the team. And sure enough, it will finally get deployed in the same spot as the other one. 2 drones on top of each other then.
5 versus 5. Fantasy looking to take the shots out through towards the Square Skylight there, just through the soft wall. They've not managed to get the breach off yet, haven't BDS. Just looking to challenge on towards Janitors for the time being and prevent Miracle being able to peek around this corner and cause them any problems. Highs has lost his shield. Shaiko almost lost his life. He's been down. Fantasy taking just long-range pot shots here. I'm not sure if Shaiko's in a position where he can be collected, but certainly seem to be taking the time about it if that was the case. Lems is on low health as well. Pressure mounting from Stock and from Square Skylight's side. Things not looking good for BDS right now.
Lems is really fearful of a jump out of Stock because they have no control in there, and the fact that he's having to hold the angle says to me they haven't even got a drone inside there, but his patience is rewarded as Fantasy comes off those yokais, hightails it out from Banana, out towards Stock, out the window, and Lems collects the kill. Shaiko back on his feet, and it's a 4 versus 5 for FURIA. They've got to hold on for another 60 seconds yet, Tim.
Certainly do. Lender just holding down that long angle now. It was Fantasy earlier, as you say, just replaced him in that position, just showing the importance of it to FURIA. Gets himself out onto the balcony, is just going to prevent any attempt to potentially repel inside of the site. It's Breeder with Diffuser in hand who needs to get inside here somehow and look to close things down, but he's just about going to start breaching that wall. I believe we can hear the exothermic charge just detonating there in the background, so that should give them access. Rare, however, finds Lems, and with 30 seconds left to go, it's time to think about getting this diffuser down. Shaiko has been picked up. He's pushing him with 20 health, but it's only going to take 1 bullet to take him down, and in a 4 versus 4, this all favours FURIA right now with 20 seconds left to go. 2 men on on the rappel, and it's looking difficult for BDS to get inside a site. They haven't dealt with Lender, and Rare is able to move around the back. That is the round as far as FURIA are concerned. There's no option but for the rappel to come in. It's BIOS all alone looking to get that diffuser. Seconds left to go. It was a matter of time until he ran into somebody, and that is going to be the round.
Second round in a row that BDS gets slammed on the flank. This time it's Rare pushing up from Janitor. It's almost like FURIA are just playing the patience game and saying, if you guys want to come and try and execute, then please do go for it. But at the moment BDS pulled the trigger, at this point, the 15-second mark, that is when the sting comes through. The smokes get deployed, Rare swings out, finds 2 kills. There will probably be questions asked of that player that was just inside the double door. He really should have been protecting the man who was trying to get the wall opened up. I'm pretty sure it was Bredo just got it opened up and dropped the smokes down. You're expecting cover from that player, and the cover simply wasn't given, unfortunately. That precedes him.
Certainly does.
Has to live up to that. Let's get into round number 3 then. Staff and open area going to be where we step into this time around, and I want to see if we're not going to see Lightning Strike 3 times. It's already done so twice, and that never normally happens. The blanks in both rounds from FURIA have been impactful and round-ending. BDS needs to be better at holding down those flanks. Even when they've had the 0 on side, it clearly hasn't helped them all that much. They're going to try it once again here. They've even got Alems moving across onto the IQ. Maybe they feel those black eyes is what's informing these flanks coming in and think, okay, we need to shut down the information game, and that's why you're seeing it coming out.
Exactly that. Like you say, we say time and time again how important the information game is, and just feeling obviously like they need to deal with it. Now then, we're going to be heading in towards the action phase very soon. We've got the Maestro on board this time. We've actually seen Maestro banned out quite a lot so far today, Des, like you say, leaning in towards that information game again. But this time, we've seen a couple of big rounds, you and I, on Bank recently as well, with the Alder particularly inside of the staff area, just shutting people down as they try to come in through that double door, and we'll have to keep an eye on Miracle and see if we get any more of the same.
LMG meta we're in, mate. That's what it's all about, and that Alder is up there. That's
what the M stands for.
Absolutely. But what I'm finding interesting about Maestro, obviously, there's been a couple of changes to his gadget over the last, year or two. You can now punch it and break the glass, but dead teammates can also now move the cameras around. So that's a pretty noticeable change that's come through to those. Of course, if the glass is punched out, then you've probably done something wrong, because it means the enemies have got control of them and they are essentially useless anyway. But otherwise, you can have someone dead and they can still be making use of those cams. So when you double down on the Maestro and the Valkyrie, it can be infuriating to try and deal with those. It can be a real nightmare. And for BDS, who I wouldn't go as far as saying have a lot of utility here that can help them clear out those bubbles, you're only really looking at Shaiko for that. It's going to be painful. Unless he manages to use the Gon 6 or those nades to kill both, they're in for a world of hurt.
They certainly are. BIOS has taken a lot of damage here early in the round as well. It was a nitro attempt, I believe, and that's not going to serve them very well. But there have been shots exchanged with Highs and Rare as well. So BDS not in terrible shape here, but just looking to use that vertical control that they've now established to try and put a little bit of pressure on towards site. Renshiro on the book just going to go in and start opening things up here. Just trying to make life as difficult as possible for the defenders on that mid floor.
I was going to say for BIOS, I want to see more of these 0 cams get thrown out. Even if you aren't using, even if you're not planning on putting them in the most optimal positions where you want them to be, it's better to have them out and be dead so you can use them than having 2 in back pocket. And once again, he's gone down with 2 in back pocket. Had one there on the main stairs. I didn't see where the first one went, but that's a lot of info in your back pocket. It's like not using one of your bubbles as the Maestro or keeping 1 or 2 cameras in back pocket as the Valkyrie. You want them out in the field to help your team out.
Rare manages to find Breede, and that leaves us now 5 versus 3. FURIA starting to cruise a little bit here. Shaiko able to find 1 onto Rare just to trade that one out. He's looking to push into that double door now, but just having to hold off for the time being. He's got a Lems moving through Tellers, who's looking to find a man inside of open, and he's just a second late to the punch there, leaving us now still 4 versus 3 with time ticking away. But Alems does find his man, gets the kill onto Fantasy, and brings us back to 3-all.
Maybe I'll try and step in. C4 coming out, not finding the man because neither of them were too close to the wall. I thought we might see someone try and open up the square wall, but obviously with the hard breacher offline, that's just simply not going to happen. And here we come. 3rd round in a row. FURIA are stinging BDS in the backside on the flank, and they find another one. When are BDS going to learn, Tim? That's, again, 3rd round in a row. no.
That's it. They can't keep allowing that to happen. They keep taking them close to the end. They keep trying to push them into the late round, and they just don't seem to be able to close it out, BDS here, just allowing FURIA back into it time and time again.
You've got the Zero, you've got drones, you've got so much that can help you prevent this, and you haven't learned. I don't know if, like, now look, just to kind of clarify to all the viewers as well, we don't know anything about the Rafale situation, right? That's all at the minute being handled behind the scenes by Ubisoft and the team are making sure it's all going to be good. The obviously thing we're looking at here is we don't know strictly what's going on inside this team as well in terms of the communication. They looked a bit flat, like I said, during the timeout. They weren't really conversing with each other. Did they address the problem of these flanks hitting them? Probably not, but we also don't know what their current mental state is at, given all that's going on around the team.
Absolutely not. Going to be in round 4 now. FURIA back down to their first choice site. It's going to be defending down in the basement lockers and CCTV. They've had a complete defensive rotation successfully now, so looking good for them at this stage. They're just looking to cruise on through and get as good a half as they can, given that this is their map choice as well. You know, we really are expecting a strong finish from FURIA here. What they can't do is what they did back on Oregon, and that is allow BDS back into things. 4 rounds in a row BDS were able to claim once they got onto the defence, and you know, that may well be the situation again, that BDS just wakes up a little bit when they get onto the other side of this one.
Absolutely. We keep on speaking about that half-point switch. You never know what's going to come from it. It'll be a shame because, again, for BDS, they've got a 6-1 record on Bank. They are a very good team here when you look at how Sweden has gone, how EUL Stage 3 has gone, for example, but it is starting to feel a bit rough. You've even got Miracle hitting someone at the entryway in from Tunnel. What is that? Another big kill coming out of Miracle. He had a wonderful time at Oregon. He's finding himself 3-0 right now, where Fantasy is quiet, currently sat at 0-3. And we missed it, by the way. He's running a shotgun on the Jaeger.
Certainly is. I mean, Miracle there just choosing to use the smoke canister to finish Renshiro off. What he didn't want to do was basically overpeak that and expose himself to somebody who may be covering from Dirt Tunnel, but that wasn't the case. But he wasn't to know that. Now then, Bios looking to push in through main lobby here. He's on the Hibana, so he's going to be looking to get some work done to open hatches up and try and get them some sort of access down into sight. But there is going to be more than access into sight that is needed for BDS here. It needs to start with some kills, and they need to start picking up these FURIA players. Now, the reason that we've got the Jaeger shotgun is because he's going to be holding down Blue Stairs, but he knows that the range is just a little bit too much for that weapon at the minute.
It's interesting because normally you'd see like an Ella playing inside of here with the Titan Killer, as Demo would call it, right? Going for the pistol one taps there, a little bit greedy on Fantasy's side, but doesn't lose his life for it. The beautiful part of this is the smoke could drop down the shield, get the ADS on the wall, and then just be like, cool, I can now hold this down entirely by myself. Shoiko's doing a bit of work from above here, clearing out some of the gadgets below. Nades coming into the south side of red, just trying to force these FURIA members back so they can go for a drop. 75 seconds still to play with, plenty of time for BDS to make this work.
He's just getting on the cams there, feeding information in, seeing if he can just identify where this BDS push is coming from. Elems has got barbed wire ahead of him on the main stairs, which is going to slow things down considerably. He can't sort of push in there and try to make that unexpected appearance. Now, Shaiko taking shots towards Blue Stairs, but not going to be able to do any damage to the man behind that shield.
He's completely out of gadgetry. He can't clear the shield, and I mentioned this with the bubbles. What about the shields also being a thing in future rounds? It's just not the best utility use coming out of BDS, and Shaiko's now down on the deck, probably soon to find himself out of this round, out of this world, as Alems tries to step his way through into sight to find one. Can't collect anything. Shaiko back on his feet and at 20 HP. They know one's lurking around in gold bars, but Alems is dying to find someone, but cannot find a single thing. Here comes Fantasy up towards the side, gets it down with the shotgun through the wall. We keep on speaking about these flanks, and just to make matters worse, they've now been flanked by a Jaeger with a shotgun.
Well, that happened. Fantasy managing to find and create the peak hole and find the kill. Breeder doing everything he can. He's on a triple for the round. It could be a 4K to finish, but no, Miracle's just going to hold his ground and pick him up as he tries to move through into red corridor. And that's going to be another successful defense of FURIA. Probably a little closer than it should have been there, Des.
A little bit, yeah. I think I'm a bit excited at the end there and wanted to try and swing onto Breeder, but Breeder isn't the kind of player that you swing. He's pretty damn good at the game at the best of times. That said, coming into that round, he was on 0 kills. So to find 3 for himself will at least put him up there on the scoreboard ever so slightly. I kind of feel like a broken record about the whole flanking thing, but we can just appreciate for a second how smart that is coming out from the Jaeger player as well. You know, you're being put on blue stairs, you're playing with the shotgun, you know they're then out of utility. They've only got one grenade-based operator. It's probably why you're going to see the Nook step in here for Renshiro to give them some more nades on sides. They can clear through this utility. And when you're like, okay, cool, they're not going to push blue anymore because they can't, I'm going to go for a walkabout. Runs over to the hatch where the attention is being given, where the rest of FURIA have communicated, okay, gadgetry is coming in, we've got players on the hatch, and makes a big impact. That's the 4th round in a row where FURIA have made great use of flanks. I know I keep on saying to BDS, you've got to get that course corrected, but you've also got to give it to FURIA for being, you know, ballsy enough to go for that 4 rounds in a row.
Absolutely that. They're going to be up to the top floor at this time around. Round 2, we saw them do this, and they were, guess what, successful, as they have been on every defense so far. It's looking good for FURIA to lock this one out with a potential 6-0 here, just to give themselves the real advantage going into the tougher half where they're going to be attacking onto Bank. But Fantasy bringing the Oryx around this time, and you just feel if he starts getting out into the map, Des, he could be a danger here. He's only got 1 kill so far, and he's maybe just thirsting after a few more.
Wouldn't blame him. As we hear the screams across the studio. So for those who are probably curious as to what the setup is like, I think it's nice to give a small idea. We're kind of in a big exhibition hall, you know, high ceilings and so on. At the very heart of it, we've got the command center where you see Milos, Jackie, the analysts. Off to the left-hand side, you've got 2 casting booths side by side where you've got us in one, and I believe it's Intero and Pengu in the other. On the other side of the command center is where all the playing stages are, where you can see the players. Now, we are probably halfway across the room from them, and we can still hear those screams all the way over here. That's just how excitable everything is starting to get. Speaking of excitable, Fantasy not going to be feeling very excitable right now. It's been shut down once again. Look at this angle by Rek, and you see the man almost scared about losing his own life. But it's Lender getting one back onto Shaiko. 4 and 4. Again, early shots being fired, and BIOS will find Rare. Not at all too bad for them, but FURIA, even at a man disadvantage, you're not going to count them out.
It could be the first round for BDS here if they can keep this going. Alems has got himself up to the top of Square Skylight. He's looking out towards Janitor, trying to find himself a kill. BIOS just searching through. I think he knows there's somebody around me in lobby. Lender just manages to hit the man through the bars, and that is a tough one for BIOS to take as Lender dips himself back upstairs, leveling through 3-3 now.
Soren twice at that point, also being challenged off towards the far right-hand side. 3 versus 3. Instead, the IQ opting to go below and look to remove away some of this gadgetry. Miracle, 4 and 0 inside 4 rounds. Wants to keep up his average of running at 1 per round so far. And as his clock runs down, he's only more likely to get it. Still has 1 smoke canister in pocket. They still have the C4 on Lender. But for me, it's about those flank plays. Again, Lender's on 7 kills. Constantly hitting BDS on the flank and doing some wonders.
Exactly that, like you say, every time he just seems to find that angle onto the outside of them. Brede starts to put the diffuser down, but he has to dip away. Lems finds the kill onto Highs, and you just feel like this is one that BDS can close out. Lender manages to get the man off the rappel. That's going to be an important first one. And he drops Brede. That leaves us now with a potential ace for Lender here. There's only a Lems can stop him. He's managed to recover that diffuser, and he is going to go in for the plant. Lender is pushing forward, but doing so cautiously, given that he's low health. He can't see the man. He takes the shot, and Lems is going to get that plant down and find a kill on the back of it.
Big play by Lems there. Just for a second, looked like Lender might walk away with the ace and give his team round 5, but no. BDS give themselves a little bit of padding, potentially, heading into the second half. Remembering again, they go on the defensive side. The last thing you want to be is down 6-0 and be reminded every single round that it is match point, that you cannot mess up even once. 1 round at least gives you that little bit of padding to have 1 round that goes wrong, to get stung by something that's going to surprise you, for example. And surely the blitz doesn't stick. That doesn't really feel like a BDS special, but Renshiro is going to really go for it here. So this feels like a really weird throwback to 2 or 3 years ago, seeing IQ and Blitz in the same lineup. Very weird. You said,
not something that we see.
And a Nook? What? Okay. Now, they're full sending. This is what we would call
just throw and see what sticks, Des.
This is full sending. Just send it. Just go for it. You know, why not? Throw it at the wall and see what sticks, as you say, Tim. I'm not convinced, but we'll give it a go.
We'll keep a close eye on those unusual operators and see if they can have any impact or not. We're going to have an open area defense from FURIA to finish things off here. They're looking to find themselves a 5-1 half. It's been good for them so far. I think what FURIA need to be careful of here is not throwing this away, not getting carried away, because it's getting that little bit easier. We've seen Fantasy challenging with the Jaeger shotgun. You know, they just need to keep their heads in the game. There's 3 points on the line here. Just get it locked down now.
That's it. No one, I think, had on their scratch cards FURIA taking a 2-0 today. Obviously, the circumstances may have altered that for many of you, but it would be a prolific start and a great way to blow this group wide open. Because I think most people had BDS down as being first place coming out of this group. FURIA taking 3 points off them is one hell of a way to blow that wide open going into tomorrow and beyond. We'll see how things start to shape up from there. At least Alem's trying to come in nice and quick with pace, finds Rare. Nice and quick. So catching FURIA off guard ever so slightly. Now he needs to try and chain that into 1 or 2 more. He's going to get himself tagged down by Fantasy, who was hanging around inside of admin office. Now it's up to Lender, the human blender. What can he step forward and achieve?
Renshiro just trying to work something with the blitz here, taking shots in through the soft wall. Not going to find anybody for the time being. Might just find himself stepped out on from the man just inside of open area if he's not careful. But for the time being, FURIA are going to play this cautiously. Just going to keep themselves calm and take a step back inside. Now then, got Highs, Miracle, Lender, everybody, Fantasy included, all inside a site, although Lender thinks about getting himself out, and they will find a kill onto Renshiro. 4 versus 3 now, FURIA with the advantage that you feel like they needed here. It's going to potentially leave them with a 5-1 half. Breeder just holding down the angle, and 4 versus 3 now, 1 minute 30 left to go.
Don't forget, you're still staring at a very intel-heavy lineup as well, where you've got the Maestro, you've got the Valkyrie in tandem working together to give all the information this team needs. You can see Rare, again, the defeated member of FURIA, sat on the Evil Eyes, on those bubbles, feeding information as dead men can now rotate those cameras around. Plenty of use and plenty of information to feed back and forth. BIOS hits the deck. It really leaves Shaiko and Brede in a 2 versus 4 to keep this round alive. Diffuser has also been dropped, mind you.
Like you said, that diffuser down cold is a big problem for them here. BIOS has managed to sort of crawl himself to safety, but I don't think he's going to be getting picked up. But if nothing else, he can provide a little bit of intel. Brede trying to get something going from inside of Tellers, but I don't think there's going to be much to find here. He manages to get 1 onto Lender, but Fantasy got 1 just before that. Miracle with the final kill. The down onto BIOS will be finished off and confirmed at the same time, and that's going to be 5-1 to FURIA on the half.
Alrighty, things gets a bit spicy here. Yes, FURIA move onto the attacking side, but with such a monumental lead, 5 rounds to 1, you start thinking, okay, well, where can BDS possibly fight their way back into this? Sure, you might find yourself with a round or 2, but it's only going to take 1 round from FURIA to guarantee overtime and 2 to take the match. And again, with how that last round played out, with the operator selection BDS had, yeah, I don't need to say too much about that.
Not at all. Staff and open area could be the well, it can't be the final site, but it could leave close to it. Could leave FURIA on map point after this one. They are 5-1 up at the minute and sort of cruising here. BDS, they might find a little bit more joy now that they've got themselves onto the defense. We've got Renshiro bringing the Oryx along, so potential little bit of mobility from him as he gets himself out on the roam. FURIA just looking to get this one closed out. This is the situation they found themselves in last time. It ended up 6-2 on that occasion, and they let BDS back into it. I'm sure they're going to want to learn their lesson here and not do more of the same.
No. So the big difference in that first half was the flanks coming out of FURIA. For BDS, they've got the players to make those kind of plays, right? You've got a Lems on the Valkyrie. I spoke about this earlier on. If he plays that, he likes to get out on the roam and cause trouble. Shaiko's on the Melusi, can do much the same. Renshiro on the Oryx can again do much the same. Shaiko's even staring here and looking for a run out, really going for it, hoping someone comes to the run. Not to be the case. Oh, ho, ho! A shot from Fantasy, who was up on the roof in rapid fashion, finds himself a kill and shuts down down Zyko.
That's it. Fantasy got up there very, very quickly to be able to react to that. Elems is looking to double down, and he's going to take some damage as well. I think BDS need to learn that doorway is not one to play on, because Fantasy is watching it very, very closely. 5 versus 4, we find ourselves very quickly here, and FURIA looking to sweep in and get across that top floor, get it cleared as quickly as possible. Fantasy finds himself another onto Elems, and BDS just feel like they're throwing themselves onto FURIA right now as Lender gets Renshiro. Brede does manage to get one and drop himself back down the elevator, looking for the main lobby challenge as well. Might see his man if he keeps looking, but no, he's going to dip away, and that's Miracle just getting away with one potentially there, but Brede is coming back for a second glance.
Not going to swing back in because he heard him shoot out the default camera inside the lobby, which gives the indication, right, step back in, be ready to challenge, and goes to the challenge. Comes out worse for wear, and now might find himself backing away. And behind him came Lender, not that it mattered as Miracle won out that gunfight. Bios is left alive, all by his lonesome. It's 6-1 to FURIA, and it feels like this one is destined to be a LATAM 2-0.
It certainly does look that way as FURIA take themselves now onto map point. One more round will do it for them. And like you say, with the way that one went, it does feel like that will likely be the case here. 6-1 now for FURIA, and they are cruising. It's going to be Staff and Open once again. BDS just doubling down, deciding they will try more of the same. I mean, they weren't particularly close, but maybe they just think that they've got the answer, the secret ingredient that will get them around there.
Possibly so. For BDS, it's going to be a change over to a little bit of information denial. The Mozzie on side, the Vigil for Elems, for example. Renshiro, the one now picking up the Valkyrie. So a couple of switches around as to who's playing what as we head down into Staff and Open area. I can't imagine you'll see a repeat again coming out of BDS where they're trying to go for the spawn kill, run out of the top of square. Maybe a little bit bold on their side, but for FURIA, they feel fully in control. And what I'm enjoying about them is we've seen different players shine, right? Last map, Fantasy, Miracle, the two big players on board. Miracle still having a great game at 6-1, but Lender is the man of the hour here as well. Some brilliant rounds, almost winning out that 1 versus 4, but not quite able to achieve so. Sorry, nearly getting the ace overall, I suppose I should say. He's still sat at 12-3. A good start for FURIA and a really good way to warm into the tournament.
Certainly is, and I think we're going to see probably more of the same from FURIA here, just trying to get themselves into the top floor, get a few kills, and then work their way down from there. It looks like BDS have learnt their lesson. They're not going to be poking their faces out of any doors for the time being. Zyko last time trying that peek to just try and give them something, you know, a little bit of a spark to get things going inside of the round, but he's not going to be doing that this time. Renshiro on the Valkyrie, getting those cams. He is going to be having a look outside. Elems as well, potentially. I'm not sure if they're going to take a jump out here. They both look like they're prepping for it. There come the shots. Very lucky not to lose their head. There it goes. Lender able to counter that very well. 4v5 now as FURIA start to pile on the pressure.
I said I didn't think they'd go for it, but they've definitely tried. This one looks to be another total shutout, though. BDS falling by the wayside. FURIA with a wonderful first performance, a great motivator for them going into the rest of the competition. It's only Bios and Brede left to hold down the fort here, try and do some damage, but FURIA with 5 alive, I'm pretty sure will close this one out in no time.
Certainly looks that way. Brede just keeping himself in behind the bomb chassis on side of sight. He's got Bios on the top floor, just trying to see if he can get anything going here. He knows there's a man inside of the main lobby. He might just find himself walking into a problem as there are a couple pushing from that direction. There's one just on the other side of the door here. Does he win the fight? Of course he does. Gets the kill onto Highs. Brede manages to find Fantasy, and that brings us back with BDS in touching distance now. 2 versus 3. And maybe not such a certainty as Rare takes a lot of damage and finds himself down and dead. Bios and Brede finding another one apiece, and all of a sudden it's a 1v2.
Yeah, all of it to do as well. Can find the one at the further back. No, he cannot just yet. Bios is very low, but Brede still sat at full HP here. Miracle has done a lot of work so far, but he gets the down to Bios as well, and he won't know about it. The flank coming in from Brede off towards the side, knows that his teammate has gone down. Miracle has got a drone on field if he wants to make use of it here, sees the man and gets the finish and knows it's a 1 versus 1. Support versus support, who comes out on top?
It's not going to be an easy finish for Miracle, that much is for sure. Brede not only full health, but also sat on top of the diffuser as well. He knows that Miracle has to play deep inside of sight here, but Miracle does have the clock on his side. He's got 55 seconds, so plenty of time to work with here, but no drones left alive. alive that he can control. He's limited to what might already be there. He's looking to push in. I think BDS aware, but Miracle somehow manages to find the shot and take the full 3 points for FURIA.
Beautiful performance of FURIA. As said, it's been a great day for APAC up to this point, but LATAM finally start fighting their way back into the picture. FURIA bringing down one of our tournament favorites in BDS. And again, big performances from multiple players.